Daughter-in-law's voice came through the bedroom wall like she wasn't even trying to keep it down. "I want him gone, Marcus. He creeps around this house like he owns it. I can't live like this anymore." My son said nothing for a long moment. Then, "Okay, I'll talk to him in the morning." I stood in the hallway in my socks, one hand on the wall, and didn't move. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and drop a comment telling me what time it is where you are right now. The cardiology appointment had gone better than expected, all things considered. Moderate arterial blockage, manageable with medication and some lifestyle adjustments. My doctor, a practical woman who didn't sugarcoat things, said I had plenty of good years ahead of me if I took care of myself. I was 64. I'd built a plumbing supply company from a single warehouse in Tucson over 30 years, sold it 3 years ago, and moved into my son's house in Scottsdale thinking I was helping. Thinking family meant something. I'd been paying $800 a month toward their mortgage, cash in an envelope, first of every month. My son took it the way you take a parking validation stamp. Automatic. Expected. The diagnosis folder sat on the passenger seat driving home from the clinic. I kept both hands on the wheel this time, a habit I'd been working on since the doctor mentioned stress management. Coronary artery disease. She'd said it plainly, like she was reading a grocery list. I'd expected worse, honestly. 64 years of early mornings and hard decisions had a way of wearing on a body. Driving toward the house in the North Scottsdale neighborhood my son and his wife had bought 4 years ago. The house I'd contributed $65,000 toward the down payment, which they'd called a gift at the time. I ran calculations in my head, not about the medical bills, but the test I'd been running for 2 years and 8 months. My son's name was Marcus. He was 36. Worked in commercial insurance, made decent money, and had somewhere along the line become someone I didn't fully recognize. His wife, my daughter-in-law, was 33. Her name was Donna. She had the kind of precise, efficient energy that looked like competence from a distance and felt like contempt up close. She'd been pleasant enough when I first moved in. That lasted about 4 months. They had 2 kids. My granddaughter Lily was 9, sharp as a tack, already reading chapter books meant for kids 2 years older. My grandson Cooper was 6, obsessed with baseball, missing his front tooth, the kind of kid who made you feel like the world hadn't completely gone sideways. I pulled into the driveway beside Donna's Lexus and sat for a moment before going inside. The house was beautiful, I'll give them that. Adobe exterior, clean desert landscaping, a backyard pool that had my $65,000 partially written into its foundation. I'd watched gratitude calcifying expectations so slowly I'd almost missed it happening. Inside, Cooper launched himself at me from the living room. "Grandpa, you're back. Hey, buddy." I caught him, felt my lower back protest mildly. "Easy there, rookie. Did the doctor say you're okay?" Said I'm fine. I set him down and ruffled his hair. Lily looked up from the kitchen table where she was doing homework. Mom said dinner's almost ready. Donna appeared from the hallway. Workout clothes, phone in hand, expression already somewhere else. She glanced at the folder under my arm, then at my face, then back at her phone. "We're eating in 15. Marcus came out of his home office at 6:30, still in his work shirt, looking like a man who'd spent the day arguing on the phone. He was built like me, broad shoulders, my father's jaw, but the resemblance stopped at the physical. "Hey, Dad. How'd it go? Got the results?" I held up the folder. "Want to talk after dinner?" He nodded, and that was the extent of his concern. We ate at the kitchen island, which was Donna's preference over the dining table. Grilled salmon, asparagus, brown rice. Everything Donna cooked was nutritionally correct and emotionally vacant. So, Marcus set down his fork. "The doctor. Coronary artery disease, moderate stage." I watched their faces while I said it. Manageable with medication. My cardiologist was actually pretty positive about the outlook. 10 to 15 years of good quality life if I stay on top of it. Donna's jaw tightened for half a second. "That sounds scary. You'll need to be careful." Marcus nodded slowly. "Yeah, Dad, that's rough. You'll follow the doctor's orders, right?" The words were technically supportive. The tone was the same one you'd use telling someone their flight was delayed. Lily stopped eating. "Are you going to be okay, Grandpa?" "I'm going to be just fine, sweetheart." "Lily, finish your asparagus," Donna said, And just like that, the subject was gone. Marcus started talking about a client situation. Donna asked follow-up questions. I ate my salmon and watched him and filed the moment away. After dinner, I excused myself to my room. It was the smallest bedroom in the house, the one they'd originally used for storage. I'd never fully unpacked. 2 boxes still sat in the corner with my name in black marker, the way you label things when you're not sure how long you'll be somewhere. I opened the nightstand drawer. 12 envelopes, one for each month of the year. This month's was already prepared. 30 crisp $100 bills, 2 $800. I brought it to Marcus in the kitchen while he was loading the dishwasher. This month's. I handed him the envelope. He took it without looking up. Thanks, Dad. Donna watched from the doorway, not watching me, watching the envelope. I went back to my room and sat on the edge of the bed and listened to the house settle into its evening routine. Kids to bed, the murmur of the television. Then their bedroom door closed and the voices started. I don't know what made me get up. Some instinct older than logic. I moved to my door quietly, turned the knob, stepped into the hallway. Their bedroom light leaked under the door at the end of the hall. Donna's voice came through first, clipped and certain. I want him gone, Marcus. He creeps around this house like he owns it. I can't live like this anymore. I stood completely still. He's my father. Marcus's voice, low, placating. I don't care. He's sick now. What happens when he gets worse? Are we supposed to be his caretakers? That's not what I signed up for. Donna, I mean it. I want my house back. I want our life back. He pays less than a tenant would, and he gets to just exist here like he's doing us a favor. He helped us buy this house. That was years ago. Marcus, I am done. I want him out by the end of the month. Tell him it's for his health. Tell him whatever you want. Just fix it. Silence. Long enough that I thought maybe Marcus would push back, would say something, would be the son I'd spent 36 years believing I'd raised. Okay, his voice was barely audible. Okay, I'll talk to him tomorrow. I stepped back into my room, closed the door without a sound. I didn't turn on the light. Sat in the dark for a long time. 3 years earlier, Marcus had called me on a Sunday afternoon. I was on the back patio of my house in Tucson, the house I'd owned free and clear for a decade. Dad, Donna found this place in Scottsdale, but we're short on the down payment. I know it's a lot to ask. I'd written the check for $65,000 by Monday morning, told him to consider it a gift, watched him cry, actually cry, when I handed it over. I thought about that moment in the dark. Then I got up, went to the closet, moved the hanging shirts aside, and opened the fireproof lockbox on the top shelf. Inside, a bank statement I kept updated monthly, printed and folded. Tucked behind an insurance document. I unfolded it. Current balance, 9,214 Lassen, 388. They thought I'd sold the business and spent most of it downsizing. They had no idea what Walker Plumbing Supply had actually been worth at the time of the sale. No idea what 3 years of disciplined investing in municipal bonds, index funds, and 2 dividend-heavy REIT portfolios had done to the principal. I sat on the edge of my bed with the statement in my hands and did not sleep. By the time gray light came through the window, I'd made my decisions. I heard Marcus moving in the kitchen, the coffee maker, the particular sound of a man delaying something he didn't want to do. I dressed, walked out. Morning, he didn't meet my eyes. We stood in silence for a moment that stretched. Dad, he cleared his throat. I've been thinking, maybe it would be better for you, health-wise, to have your own place. Less stress, more independence. You could set your own schedule. He was staring at the counter. We'd need the room by the end of the month. I looked at my son for a long time. Saw the shape of the man he'd become. Saw the path of least resistance worn smooth by years of choosing it. I understand completely, I said. My voice was very calm. I'll start making arrangements today. Something flickered across his face. He'd expected something else. Protest, maybe, or guilt. What he got was the kind of quiet acceptance that should have frightened him more than anger ever could. I walked back to my room and began folding clothes. Through the wall, I heard Donna's voice, bright with relief. He's actually doing it. I kept folding. That afternoon, sitting among partially packed boxes, I called my real estate agent. I'd used her once before, 7 years ago. when I bought a rental property in Tempe that I'd sold before moving in with Marcus. She picked up on the second ring. "This is Carol. Carol, it's Raymond Stafford. I need to look at houses. Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, maybe North Phoenix. Budget up to $700,000, and I'm paying cash." A pause. "Cash?" "All cash. I need to move quickly." Her voice shifted into a different gear entirely. "I can have listings pulled by tomorrow morning. When can you come in?" I also called my financial advisor, a man named Gerald, who'd been managing my portfolio since before I sold the business. 21 years. He'd watched me go from one rental duplex to a full commercial operation and never once asked a question that wasn't his business. "Gerald, I need $700,000 liquid by the end of next week." "Easy enough. Bond redemption or index sale? Split it. Whatever's cleanest tax-wise. Done. New property? Fresh start." He didn't ask anything else. That's why I kept him. The next 2 mornings, while Marcus left for work and Donna dropped the kids at school, I drove. Paradise Valley was beautiful and felt performative, the kind of neighborhood that existed to be seen rather than lived in. North Scottsdale had stretches I liked. Quieter streets, real trees, established yards that told you people had been there long enough to care. I met Carol at a coffee shop in Old Town on Wednesday. She was 50-ish, no nonsense, wore sensible shoes and had her listings color-coded. I liked her immediately. "I found 7 properties matching what you described," she said, spreading printouts across the table. 6 in North Scottsdale, 1 in Cave Creek. The Cave Creek one is slightly over budget but worth a look. One of the Scottsdale listings stopped me. Single story, 3 bedrooms, stone and stucco exterior, mature saguaros along the property line, and a backyard with a covered patio that faced west toward the mountains. Listed at $649,000. Previous owners had already relocated to Portland, vacant for 3 weeks. "This one," I said, "tomorrow. I can do 3 o'clock. Sellers are motivated." Motivated sellers? Cash buyer. I knew exactly how that equation resolved. That evening, in my small borrowed room, I wrote the note I'd leave when I moved out. Tried several versions. Too formal, too cold, too much like I was still asking for something. Finally, I settled on this. "Thank you for the use of your home these past 3 years. I've found my own place and will be out by noon. No need to see me off. The envelope on the counter is this month's contribution. Don't trouble yourselves about me any further. Dad." I read it twice. The last line came from Donna's voice through the wall. Her words exactly, rearranged. Let them hear the echo. The house on Pinnacle Peak Road was even better in the afternoon light than in the photos. Stone exterior warm in the Arizona sun. The kind of desert landscaping that looked effortless and wasn't. A gated driveway with real privacy, and a backyard where you could hear nothing but wind and the occasional quail. Carol walked me through room by room. I half listened. I was imagining Marcus driving past this address someday, looking at it through the windshield, understanding what he'd given up access to. "Mr. Stafford." Carol touched my arm lightly. "Would you like to discuss an offer?" I turned to her. "Full asking price. Cash. I'd like to close in a week." Her professional composure slipped just slightly. "A week is possible when you're not waiting on a mortgage," I said. "Can you make it happen?" She made it happen. 6 days later, I woke before dawn in Marcus's spare room for the last time. The movers were coming at 8. I had already arranged everything. 2 men from a local company, efficient and bonded, paid in advance plus a generous tip. I picked up the note from the nightstand. Read it one last time. Walked to the kitchen in darkness and placed it on the counter beside this month's envelope. $2,800 in fresh hundreds. My final contribution to a household that had been counting on it without once asking if I was okay. Marcus left for work at 7:15. He didn't knock on my door. Donna took the kids to school at 7:50. I watched her Lexus back out of the driveway that $65,000 of my money had made possible, and felt nothing complicated about what came next. The movers arrived at 8 on the dot. 2 hours to load everything. I'd lived light on purpose. "Nice upgrade, sir," one of them said, checking a destination address on his clipboard. "You could call it that," I said. "Fresh start." I did one last walk through the house. The converted storage room where I'd slept for nearly 3 years. The kitchen where I'd eaten careful, functional meals and watched my presence be tolerated. The hallway where I'd stood in my socks and heard my son choose his wife's convenience over his father's dignity. In the kitchen, the note sat exactly where I'd left it, month's envelope beside it. I pulled my house key from my pocket and set it on top of the stack. I walked out the front door and didn't look back. The drive to Pinnacle Peak Road took 22 minutes. I followed the moving truck, windows down, the dry desert air coming through clean and warm. The gate responded to my new remote. My gate. My driveway. I tipped the movers $600 between them. Watched them drive away. Stood in my new living room with high ceilings and a wall of windows facing the mountains and made coffee in my own kitchen for the first time in 3 years. My phone buzzed around 4 that afternoon. Marcus, got your note. Hope you're settled okay. Take care of yourself. 11 words. I counted them. Read them twice. Put the phone face down on the counter. I'd been waiting for 9 days when I finally called my estate planning attorney. Her name was Patricia Holden, and I'd worked with her when I sold the business, setting up structures to protect what I'd built. Sharp mind, no sentimentality, exactly what the situation required. Patricia, this is Raymond Stafford. We worked together 3 years ago. Mr. Stafford, of course. What can I do for you? I need to update my estate documents, and I need you to arrange a meeting with my son. I paused. He needs to understand his father's financial situation. All of it. A beat of silence. Then, when would you like to come in? 3 days later, Marcus sat in Patricia's downtown Phoenix office on the 14th floor. I know the details because she called me immediately after. She'd started professionally, factually. Mr. Stafford, thank you for coming. I handle your father's estate planning, and he's asked me to make you aware of certain financial matters. Marcus had looked confused. Dad doesn't really have. He sold his business a few years ago. He's been living pretty simply. Patricia slid the first document across her desk. Investment portfolio statement. My name at the top. Current balance in bold. $9,214,388. Marcus stared at it for a long moment without speaking. She showed him the rest. Property deed for the Pinnacle Peak House. Bank account records. Tax documentation from the business sale. $7.1 million at closing. But Marcus's voice came out strained. He lived in our spare room. He gave us money every month. Your father contributed $2,800 monthly. He chose to do so. He couldn't. I thought he needed. The sentence died as the arithmetic caught up. Your father has never required financial assistance, Patricia said. Those contributions were his decision, not his necessity. She told me later that he sat motionless for nearly 2 full minutes. Then he picked up his phone and called Donna from the parking garage. Patricia's office window faced the structure. She watched him sit in his car, visibly still, phone pressed to his ear. I imagine how that conversation went. I've thought about it, Donna. You need to sit down. Dad has $9 million. That's not possible. He lived in our house, Marcus. He paid us like a tenant. He was testing us. All of it. The money every month, the small room, all of it was a test. Oh, God. Marcus, what did we do? They called me 22 times in the following 2 hours. I watched my phone light up from across the room and did not answer. The text messages started around 6. From Marcus, Dad, please call me. We need to talk. From Donna, Raymond, I had no idea. Please let me explain. From Marcus again. I'm sorry. I don't even know what to say, but please just call me. I read each one, deleted each one. That evening, I poured a glass of bourbon. My cardiologist had approved one per day, and sat on the back patio watching the sun go down behind the McDowell Mountains. The desert turned red, then purple, then dark. My yard, my view, my quiet. They found my address on the 9th day. I was reading in the living room when a silver SUV, not Donna's Lexus, a rental, I noticed, pulled slowly past my gate, stopped, turned around, pulled past again. I watched from the window. Marcus got out first, then Donna. They stood on the sidewalk and looked at the house the way you look at something that rewrites everything you thought you knew. The stone and stucco, the gated driveway, the mature landscaping, the mountain view. I buttoned the top button of my shirt. Checked the mirror in the hallway. I looked rested. I'd put weight back on. My posture had straightened out in ways I hadn't noticed, gradually deteriorating. I let them ring the intercom twice before I answered. "It's us," Marcus said. I walked to the gate and opened it from inside, then stood at the front door. They came up the walk slowly, like people approaching something they weren't sure would hold their weight. "Dad." Marcus's voice cracked on the word. I said nothing, just looked at them. Donna stepped forward. "Raymond, we've been so worried. The kids have been asking about you constantly." She stopped when she read my expression. That night, what I said. I was stressed. I wasn't thinking. I heard every word I said. Every word. Her face went pale. I said it flatly, without particular anger. "I want him gone by the end of the month. He creeps around this house like he owns it. I don't care about his health problems." I paused. "That was your exact language." Neither of them spoke. "Can we just talk?" Marcus tried. "Like family?" "You gave me a month to leave your family," I said. "I did it in a week. Come inside." I opened the door. They followed me into a house that was roughly twice the square footage of theirs, with better light and a kitchen that had real counter space and a view of mountains through every south-facing window. I didn't offer them anything to drink. We sat in the living room. I sat across from them. Donna looked at her hands. "We were wrong." "Yes. We took what you gave us, and we acted like you owed it to us." "Yes." Marcus looked up. "Dad, I should have defended you." When she was saying those things, I took the path that caused the least conflict in the moment, and I've been doing that my whole life, and I'm ashamed of it. That last part surprised me. I hadn't expected that specific truth. "Let me ask you something," I said. "Are you apologizing because I have $9 million, or because what you did was wrong?" Silence. Donna spoke first. "Both. I wish it were only the second, but I'd be lying if I said the money didn't scare me into looking at myself more clearly." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "That makes me a terrible person." "It makes you an honest one right now," I said. "First honest thing I've heard from you in a while." I reached to the side table and picked up a folder Patricia had prepared. "There's something else you need to know about." I slid a document across the coffee table. Marcus picked it up. "Read it." Set it down. "Read it again." It was a promissory note, his signature at the bottom. "Dated 4 years ago. The $65,000 for your down payment," I said, "plus $30,000 for the kitchen renovation you wanted the following spring." I called it a gift verbally. The paperwork said otherwise. I let that settle. "You signed it without reading." I watched him remember. I'd called it routine paperwork, just for tax purposes. He'd been so grateful, so eager to get into the house, that he'd signed without a second look. $95,000 principal plus 4 years of compounded interest at 5%, I said. Patricia calculates the current balance at approximately $115,600. Donna turned to look at Marcus. "The acceleration clause gives you 90 days to pay the full amount," I continued. "Otherwise, she begins foreclosure proceedings. The lien on your property has priority over any other borrowing." Marcus set the note down very carefully. "We don't have that." "I know." Silence stretched. Donna's voice was quiet. "What do we do?" "You have options," I said. "Option 1, you pay what you owe and we go our separate ways. Option 2, you agree to my terms and we figure out what, if anything, comes next." I gave them 48 hours. They called in 31. Patricia arranged everything. Marcus and Donna agreed to all 5 terms. The $40,000 they'd scraped together paid immediately toward the debt. The remaining $75,600 forgiven. Mandatory family therapy for 6 months, weekly. A revised estate structure. Lily and Cooper each had trusts that would activate at 25, funded at $1.5 million each. Marcus and Donna's inheritance from my estate was set at $50,000 combined. From $9 million, $50,000. And a private acknowledgement to the extended family. No social media, no performance. A direct accounting of what had happened and what they'd learned from it. I don't take satisfaction in the particular shape of what those 2 months cost them. I take satisfaction in the fact that it cost them something real. What I hadn't anticipated was Lily. My granddaughter called me on a Thursday evening, 3 weeks after I'd moved out, from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up. "Grandpa." Her voice was careful, the way children sound when they've been practicing something. "Lily, sweetheart, how did you get this number?" "From a card in Daddy's desk." The lawyer lady's card. It had different numbers on the back. Smart girl. Sharp as a tack. "Are you mad at us?" she asked. "Did we do something wrong?" The armor I'd been maintaining for weeks cracked somewhere around the middle. "No, sweetheart," I said. "You didn't do anything wrong. Not a single thing. Kids at school are saying stuff about Mom and Dad. I don't understand what happened." "Sometimes adults make mistakes," I said. "Big ones. And then they have to spend a while making them right. That's what your Mom and Dad are doing. Are you coming back?" "Not to live with you. But I'm not going anywhere far. You're going to see me again, okay? I promise." After she hung up, I sat in my home office for a long time, looking up the desert through the window, not reading anything, not doing anything. Then I called Patricia. "I got a call from Lily tonight. The grandchildren are always the hardest part," she said quietly. "Am I going too far?" She was quiet for a moment. "Your son listened to his wife call you a burden when you just gotten a serious diagnosis, and he said okay. The children are suffering consequences they didn't cause, but if you stop now, you teach everyone in that house that cruelty is free, that family is something you can throw out when it becomes inconvenient, and pick back up when it becomes useful." She paused. "The children will be okay. Children are resilient. Their parents are learning something they should have known already." I knew she was right. It didn't make the phone call feel any lighter. The social element I hadn't fully planned for was how fast it moved. Patricia had a network, and she used it carefully. The story got out, the way stories do in small social circles, sideways through a mutual acquaintance at a lunch, mentioned as a cautionary note about gratitude and family, spreading outward from there without anyone's fingerprints visibly on it. Donna's Instagram, which had about 11,000 followers, a carefully curated feed of home decor, healthy meals, and aspirational desert living, started hemorrhaging engagement within 2 weeks. Comments on old posts turned sharp. Someone screenshotted her caption about simplifying and focusing on what matters, and posted it to a local Facebook group with a comment about her father-in-law. She posted a vague response about private family matters. It made things considerably worse. The school pickup line was apparently difficult. Marcus told me about it later, during one of our early therapy-adjacent conversations, when he was trying to explain the full scope of what had happened. A woman who'd been friendly for years had asked Donna point blank in front of 3 other parents whether it was true she'd kicked out her sick father-in-law. Donna had said it was complicated. The woman had walked away without another word. Cooper came home from school one afternoon and told Donna that his friend's mom said they couldn't have playdates for a while. He didn't understand why. Marcus received a formal written warning at work. Performance issues. Documentation in his file. He sat in his car in the parking lot for an hour before going home. They'd assembled about $43,000 when he called me the second time. Not to negotiate, just to say something. "Dad, whatever you decide to do with the debt, I understand. I know we can't pay it all back. I know we may lose the house. I'm not calling to ask you to change anything." He stopped, started again. "I'm calling because Lily cried herself to sleep last night and told Donna she missed you, and it's the first time in this whole mess that I've really understood what I actually threw away when I threw you out. And I'm sorry. That's all. I'm just sorry." I sat with that for a moment. "I'll be in touch through Patricia," I said. "Okay, Marcus." "Yeah. The children are not being punished. They need to know that. I'll tell them." The coffee shop I'd chosen for our meeting was in Arcadia, neutral ground, the kind of place that was busy enough to keep emotions below a boil, floor-to-ceiling windows, good light, the kind of place where difficult things could be said without becoming scenes. They arrived 10 minutes early. I watched them from the parking lot, sitting at a window table, not talking, both looking at the door. I walked in at exactly 2 o'clock, ordered at the counter, and carried my coffee to their table with steady hands. I looked different. I knew it. I'd put on 8 pounds, all of it good weight. My clothes fit the way they were supposed to. There was no careful smallness to the way I sat down. Marcus started before I could. I don't have a speech prepared. I thought about it, and everything I came up with sounded like an excuse. So I'll just say it plainly. I failed you. You raised me, sacrificed for me, gave me every possible advantage. And when you got sick and actually needed us, I chose peace in my marriage over my own father. I'm ashamed of that. I'm going to be ashamed of it for the rest of my life, and I accept that. Donna's turn. She didn't look away. I called you a burden. I called you a creep in your own home. I wanted you out because you made me uncomfortable. Because having you there reminded me of how much we relied on what you gave us and how little we gave back. Her voice was steady, but her hands were pressed flat on the table. There is no version of that where I'm not the villain. I know that. I'm not asking you not to see me that way. I'm asking if there's any version of the future where we get to rebuild something, even something small. I set my coffee down. I'm going to ask you what I asked Marcus the first time, I said. Are you sorry because of the money or because of what you did? Donna answered first. The money scared me into honesty. The thing I'm actually sorry for exists separately from the money. I'm sorry because I looked at your father and saw a problem to solve instead of a person to love. That's true regardless of what's in his bank account. I believed her, partly because it matched what I'd observed for nearly 3 years, and partly because someone performing remorse doesn't usually indict themselves quite that specifically. I took the folder from my bag and set it on the table. I walked them through the terms. The $40,000 paid immediately, the balance forgiven, therapy, weekly, 6 months minimum, the estate restructured, the grandchildren protected, their own inheritance reduced to a figure that acknowledged relationship without rewarding cruelty, and the acknowledgement. Not public, private. The people who mattered told the truth. Marcus read it twice. And if we refuse, Patricia files the demand letter Monday. You lose the house probably. Declare bankruptcy. Start over. He nodded slowly. These are fair terms. They're the terms. Donna reached toward my hand on the table. I let her touch it for a moment. Then I withdrew it. Not yet, I said, boundaries first. Then maybe something else later, if you show me. Marcus looked up. Will you ever? He stopped. Tried again. Is there anything left between us? There's the possibility of something, I said. I'm not offering you certainty. I'm offering you a chance to earn back something you threw away. Most people don't get that chance. I stood. Don't waste it. Before I left, I asked to see recent photos of Lily and Cooper on their phones. They scrambled to show me. Cooper at a baseball game, face painted, grinning with the gap in his teeth. Lily reading on the back patio, absorbed completely. They need better from you than what you gave me, I said. Think about that. 2 days later, Marcus called. We accept all of it. Something in my chest released. Not quite relief. Quieter than that. Patricia will have the paperwork ready, I said. Dad. Yeah. Thank you for not destroying us when you could have. I looked out the window at the mountains going orange in the late afternoon. I didn't do this to destroy you, Marcus. I did it so you'd understand what things actually cost. Whether you learned anything is on you. The family gathering happened at my cousin Ruth's house in Tempe 6 weeks later. Small, deliberate, 15 people who'd known us for decades. Extended family, a few old friends. Ruth had offered her home when I explained what needed to happen. Marcus stood first. His voice was steadier than I expected. 3 months ago, my father was diagnosed with a serious heart condition. Instead of supporting him, I asked him to leave our home at my wife's request. I allowed cruel things to be said about him, and I said nothing. He'd been financially supporting our family for years, and we treated him like an inconvenience. He looked at me directly. I failed as a son. I'm sorry. I'm trying to become someone who wouldn't do that again. Donna followed. Her voice shook, but she pushed through every word without stopping. I said things about Raymond that I am ashamed of. I wanted him gone from my house because having him there was inconvenient. The truth is, he had been nothing but generous to us, and I repaid that with contempt. She looked at her hands, then at me. You deserve better than what you got from me. I'm sorry. I stood. I accept your apology, I said, and I hope you both learn that people aren't valuable because of their bank accounts. and that family isn't something you dispose of and retrieve based on convenience. Our relationship going forward will have different shape than before. There are limits now, but there's possibility too, if your actions continue to show me what your words said today. Afterward, my cousin Ruth pulled me aside in the kitchen. They needed this, she said. Donna especially. She'd become, I don't know, but she'd forgotten who she was. Maybe she's remembering, I said. Maybe. Ruth handed me a glass of sweet tea. You doing okay, Raymond? Better than I've been in years. 3 weeks after the gathering, I met Lily and Cooper at a diner near their school. Booth by the window, pancakes, normal grandfather things. They were nervous at first, stilted, watching me the way you watch something you're not sure of. Then Cooper knocked over the maple syrup and caught it before it fell, and looked at me to see if I was upset, and I laughed, and after that things went back to something like normal. Lily looked at me over her pancakes with those careful 9-year-old eyes. Are you still mad at Mom and Dad? I'm watching them, I said, to see if they keep being better. That's what matters more than being mad. What if they are better? Then we figure out what comes next. Together. She seemed to accept this. Cooper had already moved on to asking me whether I thought the Diamondbacks had a chance this season, and I gave him my honest assessment, which took some time. When Marcus and Donna picked them up, they stayed by their car, gave us space, didn't come in and try to make it into something it wasn't yet. That was the right instinct. First time I'd seen it clearly. Patricia filed the final trust documents in September. Lily and Cooper, $1.5 million each at 25, fully protected, completely inaccessible to their parents. Marcus saw the acknowledgement line on the paperwork and didn't say anything, just signed. That's fair, he said. I started volunteering in October. A small business mentorship program run through the Maricopa County Library System. People trying to start something, needing someone who'd been through it. I met with 2 or 3 people a week. Young woman starting a mobile grooming business. Older man opening a woodworking shop after 30 years in corporate logistics. People who reminded me who I'd been before any of this. Before the test. By December, my routine had taken shape. Mentoring sessions Tuesday and Thursday, Saturday mornings pancakes with Lily and Cooper, evenings on the back patio with a book and 1 measured glass of bourbon and mountains going dark on the horizon. Patricia called in November. Marcus's therapist reached out. She says they're making real progress. He's working on the passive avoidance patterns. Donna is, too. Good, I said, and meant it. Any regrets about how hard you pushed? I thought about this the way I try to think about things that matter. Slowly, without reaching for the easy answer. No, I said. Justice isn't the same thing as cruelty. Consequence meeting action isn't punishment. It's just cause and effect, working the way it's supposed to work. I paused. I would have let them off with nothing if I'd wanted cruelty. Cruelty is what they gave me. What I gave them was accountability. There's a difference. That evening I sat at my desk with 2 photographs side by side, one of Marcus at 8 years old, on my shoulders at a lake in northern Arizona, laughing at something I'd said, one of Lily and Cooper from our last Saturday, Cooper's gap-toothed grin, Lily's book tucked under her arm even in a diner booth. Between them, the signed trust documents, the past and the future, with something protective built between them. I turned to my window. The December sky over the McDowell Mountains was going purple and orange in the last of the light. Tomorrow I had a mentoring session with a young man starting a landscaping company. Saturday pancakes. My calendar had purpose in it again. Structure I'd chosen, not been assigned. I didn't need Marcus and Donna's approval. Didn't need their gratitude hanging over me like something I'd been quietly waiting on for 3 years. Didn't need to make myself smaller to fit whatever version of me was least disruptive to their lives. For 3 years, I'd lived in that spare room, kept my secrets, paid my contribution, and watched to find out whether my son loved me or just needed me. I had my answer, and the answer had cost them enough that I believed, for the first time in a long while, they might actually have learned something from it. I was home. My house, my gate, my mountains, my peace. For the first time in a long time, completely and entirely home. If this story moved you, please give it a like, subscribe to Genuine Revenge Stories, and let me know in the comments, what would you have done differently? I read every single one. For the next story, click the box on the left. Thanks for being here. I've thought a lot about what I'd say if someone asked me whether it was worth it. The whole thing, the years of watching, the careful silence, the decision to let things play out until they showed me who they really were. And I always come back to the same answer. It wasn't about worth it. It was about cause and effect. It was about what happens when people mistake generosity for weakness and find out too late that those are not the same thing at all. Marcus didn't become the man I found in that house overnight. That's the thing people miss when they hear a story like this. They want a villain and a victim and a clean line between them. But what I watched happen to my son was slower than that. It was a gradual drift, 1,000 small choices to take the easy road, to let Donna's voice become the only voice he listened to accept what was handed to him without asking what it actually cost someone else to hand it over. He didn't wake up one morning and decide to stop seeing me as a person. He just stopped making the effort to keep seeing me as one, and eventually that absence of effort became its own kind of answer. Donna wasn't purely a villain either, though what she said through that wall was genuinely cruel. She was a woman who had confused the accumulation of things with the building of a life, and who had never been asked to account for the difference. Until she was. What I learned from sitting in that small borrowed room for 3 years is that people almost never show you who they are when things are comfortable. Comfort is a costume. You want to know what someone is actually made of. You watch what they do when there's nothing in it for them, when there's no inheritance to protect, no favor to earn, no audience to perform for. That's when you find out whether the love is real or just a habit that happens to be convenient. The money was never the point. I need to say that plainly, because I know how the story sounds from the outside. It sounds like a rich man teaching his family a lesson about wealth. But the $9 million was just the mechanism. The actual lesson was simpler and older than any dollar amount. What you do to people when you think they can't fight back is who you are, and who you are has consequences, whether those consequences show up in a week or a decade. I'm not a perfect man, I know that. I kept secrets. I ran a test on my own son that he didn't know he was taking. There's something uncomfortable about that, and I've sat with the discomfort honestly. But I also know this. I gave Marcus every advantage I could give him, and somewhere in the receiving of all those advantages, he lost the ability to understand what they actually meant. My staying quiet and letting him find out was the only thing I had left to give him that he hadn't already discarded. The hardest part wasn't the confrontation. It wasn't even the months of watching the consequences unfold. The hardest part was Lily's phone call, 9 years old, asking me if she did something wrong. Children carry weight they didn't pack, and that is the part of this I'll carry too, for the rest of my life. Not as guilt exactly, more as a reminder that every decision made by adults lands somewhere in a child, and that's a fact that deserves to be held carefully. What I hope Marcus and Donna take from all of this, what I genuinely hope, not what I demand, is the understanding that character isn't what you say about yourself. It's the accumulation of what you actually do day after day when the stakes feel low and no one seems to be watching. Someone is always watching, and even when they aren't, you are. You live with every version of yourself you've ever been. I'm home now, my gate, my mountains, my peace. And for the first time in a long time, I recognize the man living inside it.